Addicted to the Outdoors begins now.
This week we are off to Canada, and even though this is not Gina and I's first trip to Canada, it is our first trip for moose, so we are pretty fired up. We're going to be doing a float trip down the river out of canoes with a muzzleloader, so at the very least, this ought to be pretty interesting.
Gate attendant was a nut, and she was available.
Okay, here's the stats. 5'5" single, 40-ish, and available. I'm just joking. Safe hunting, guys.
Walking through the airport, everywhere we turned, it was nothing but moose. Moose t-shirts, moose statues, moose figurines, moose paintings. Everywhere you looked, nothing but moose. I mean, it's not like we didn't have moose on the brain already.
I want a moose this big this trip.
From the airport, we had a long ride ahead of us to get to camp.
Oh, man.
This is just my snack before dinner.
After a long haul, we finally pulled up to the lodge, and let me tell you, this was a nice place. We're here.
For the good climb.
I was leaving.
Jacuzzi, what's up?
Gina.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Not better looking half. Alright.
So help yourself to snacks. Supper will be about 6 o'clock or so.
Well, we're already eating good.
Let cheese away.
Oh, I had took some of that.
Somehow I think our meals are going to change starting tomorrow. We were in Kansas 2 weeks ago for early muzzleloader. 95 degrees, mosquitoes, 40-mile-an-hour wind, full moon. It was wonderful.
Dinner was good, but that chocolate pie was even better.
Oh, there. No, not hard enough. These are stands anyway.
Oh, those are his.
These got to be harder. Oh, no, these.
He wants them hard.
Yeah, he does.
Something that might seem a little strange is before we headed out our first morning, Gina actually had to sit down and paint her nails.
It's my camo. I normally do black.
Wish I was going hunting moose on the river. That would be a fantastic experience.
Well, we'll think about you while we're out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, after a great night's sleep and a big old breakfast, it was time for the guys to give us a little briefing on the type of trip we were going to have. They explained to us that we were going to be in canoes floating down the river hunting moose on the banks, and that we would be taking our shot from the canoe. Now let me tell you, this is a little different style of hunting than we're used to, but we are fired up.
We're on our way to camp, 4-hour drive. We're about halfway there. And then we have an hour-and-a-half boat ride.
So pretty much an all-day affair. Holy bugs. Mm-hmm. Randy, I told you to take a shower.
Don't put the camera on me, I don't stink.
4.5 hour ride to the lodge, hour-and-a-half boat ride to camp, and from there on out, it was on the water all day long.
It's 2 o'clock and we are off.
We actually hunted the hour-and-a-half boat ride to camp. Our guides told us to have our guns ready and keep our eyes staring at the banks. We pulled off in the canoe and our guide started calling, and I knew right then this was definitely going to be a different kind of hunt.
I want you to keep really quiet. If they do answer, it may be very subtle and you may wonder whether you actually heard it or not.
Our first sighting was a cow and a calf, and man, they are huge animals.
Limb Saver presents Addicted to the Outdoors with Jon and Gina Brunson.
Now, a recap.
This week we are off to Canada. We're going to be doing a float trip out of canoes with a muzzleloader.
2 o'clock and we are off.
Our first sighting was a cow and a calf.
We've been on the river for about 2 hours, and because we still have to go back and finish unpacking to our camp, we're gonna head back, get our stuff, go to our camp, and get up in the morning and head back out.
All right. What's the temperature? Roughly, do we know? Mid-20s?
Yeah.
I'd say mid-20s, yeah.
Same clothes I had on. It is. Are we waiting on you to move?
Oh my God.
And you were right before me?
The prince, the prince. You look like a sexy lumberjack.
Thank you.
See, if the guys weren't cooking us such a late breakfast, we'd have been ready to go. We'll get up earlier tomorrow. Well, it's our second day, first morning, if that makes sense. Came in late yesterday, hunted the second half of the day. Saw 2 moose, no bulls, but hopefully we can jam today. It's a little chilly.
Calling.
He said he can hear one straight back behind us. Sit tight. See what we can hear. See if something comes out. We pulled off on the side of the river and hopped out to take a little break, and let me tell you, we definitely needed it. That was a long haul to be sitting in a 2-foot wide canoe.
All right, so what's our game plan? I mean, obviously we've been cruising down that river and we hopped up here. So what's happening here?
We're just gonna break here. Bash up with a bull, maybe there's a bull hanging in here or whatever. It's a crapshoot.
Sure.
Like my call, your call is really high and mine is
it more deeper?
louder and deeper.
Right.
Yeah, bellows more with that. So for a bull call, he's got the absolute best bull call between us. I think in my cow call it may be a little more effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I was listening to y'all.
We weren't seeing any moose. We were ready to get back to camp, get around the fire, and get some hot food in our bellies.
Cruising through the kitchen. Starving. Just like out of the blue.
No moose.
But I like your lights.
We did see deer, but that was about it. I did get to listen to my iPod. Maybe I didn't see something because I'm supposed to see the big nasty in the morning, right? Woo! I really thought that we would see something today.
There's no garage out in the middle of the wilderness, so when something breaks down, everybody just rolls up their sleeves and chips in and tries to fix it.
Yep.
Hunting trip, never just a normal hunting trip. There's always something going on.
Nice.
Engine out in the middle of nowhere. Flush her out.
Get her done.
Well,
Is that not good?
that's not a very good thing right there, mate.
So roll that gasket.
Whatever hit. Pump the locks into there, yeah? No, flat, nothing. Zero. Right?
It's
You
just
push
like
it
a
in
bolt.
there and it locks itself.
The casing's locked into the casing.
And there'd be a nut on the very top here, underneath here on the top of this. So we need a wrench.
By day 3, we were getting pretty good at spotting these moose on the riverbanks, so we were ready to get out there and get after them.
What I'm hoping is we catch an old bull just kind of broke away from the cows and standing out here somewhere just kind of smelling the wind. And one thing with moose versus whitetail, like if you have a really crappy day with snow and everything, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to see them because they just like a horse, they'll stand out in the open and generally turn their rear end to the wind. Yeah.
Temperature's not dropping. It's just the wind. It's actually 1 degree warmer than we left camp.
Now for the recap.
This week we are off to Canada. We're going to be doing a float trip out of canoes with a muzzleloader.
2 o'clock and we are off.
Our first sighting was a cow and a calf.
I really thought that we would see something today, but maybe it'll rain tonight and make it colder and get them going in the morning. So you can hope, right? There's always hope for the next morning.
What I'm hoping is we catch an old bull just kind of broke away from the cows and standing out here somewhere just kind of smelling the wind.
We hunted all day long, and right at last light, we looked up and spotted something on the riverbank.
Moose. It's a bull.
Right in the brush.
All right, there's a bull, broadside.
I knew this was going to be a tough shot. I was going to have to stand up in a canoe, floating down the river, shooting a muzzleloader.
This was going to be a tough shot. 150 yards with a muzzleloader out of a boat.
Hey, just wait. Hey, wait, just let us drift just a little bit. Let's win.
Gina drops this moose with an incredible shot.
I was so excited, I just shot my first moose.
And we cannot wait to get to shore for Gina to put her hands on her first moose ever.
That was hard in the boat.
Got a little secret to tell you guys. My first muzzleloader moose.
Really? Your first muzzleloader moose. All right, well, ours too.
I dropped him. Canada, yay!
I love people excited. That's my best part.
By the time we actually got up to Gina's moose, we were pretty much out of light. So we decided to head back to camp and come pack him out in the morning.
Oh my God! I'm in Canada! It's our second day, and I killed a moose standing up in the boat! Freaking! Yay!
Let's get you up to speed. This week we are off to Canada. We are going to be doing a float trip out of canoes with a muzzleloader. Our first sighting was a cow and a calf.
We were about to call it a day and head back to camp, and Johnny spotted a bull on the riverbanks.
Moose, moose.
This was going to be a tough shot. 150 yards with a muzzleloader out of a boat.
I was so excited, I just shot my first moose.
It had gotten pretty dark, so we decided to head out and pack this thing out in the morning.
Well, I boiled this one for a fried up in the stove. Great.
Did you hear about the two fellas that went moose hunting in Alaska? I think Bill's heard this, but these two fellas, they got flown in, and the pilot says, he says, boys, he says, one moose between you. No more. That's all I can get out of here. Anyway, the hunting was fantastic. And guess what? They dropped two friggin' moose. So the pilot flies in, and he looks, and he says, boys, he says, I told you, one moose. Well, I says, come on. He says, you gotta get our moose out of here. He says, the pilot last year loaded it in the plane. Okay. They're loaded in, away they go. He revs her up down the runway. Crash! The other guy looks at his buddy. He says, you know what? This is a better pilot. We got 300 yards further than we did last year.
By the time we actually got to Gina's moose, we were losing light, so we decided to head back to camp and come pack him out in the morning. And then I was going to hunt the rest of the day. Man, what a huge animal. This thing is the size of a Volkswagen.
I just could not believe how big he was when we got up to him.
After packing Gina's moose out, I hunted the rest of the day, and it was pretty slow. NWO, Wilderness Moose Hunt. It's an adventure.
The next morning was one of the prettiest sunrises I have ever seen in my life. This country is just absolutely beautiful.
Another full day of hunting and nothing. This was an incredible trip, and it was definitely one of our more unique experiences. Something that we would definitely recommend if you're looking for a unique hunt. Everything from the spike camp to the river float to the way they cook the food, really to their entire system, it was just a unique experience. Beautiful country, just, I don't know how many magazine covers you could see out there. Everything looked like it belonged on the front of a magazine. But to see Gina actually shoot her first moose and me to be sitting next to her, what an awesome experience.
The campsite itself was just exciting to be at. We met some great people, and I just hope that one day you get to experience it for yourself.
The smile on her face, the look on her face was priceless. And I'll tell you, if it came down to me or her getting a moose, I would have picked her a million times over because it was just so exciting to actually watch it happen. But this trip was definitely one of those trips that created some long-lasting memories for Gina and I.
This is my friend. I'm gonna guard it with my life.
Kirkland.
Gina get her fruit, and to see Gina get her foo-fa-foo, it was foo-foo-foo.
Free cat, free cat. Don't use that one. What girl wouldn't go out the... Okay, hold on. Hello? Our gate attendant was a nut. We done?